Hi friends, Mindy here. I have a process video for you today working through Fear the Lord from Bythewell4God. This is going to be day 2. I am working in my illustrating Bible and also in a tag ring, which we'll get to in a little bit, but I have pulled out my little flashcard and I'm going to be journaling in Isaiah 8 verses 13 and I also marked 14, but anyway, so I've opened up my Bible here so that I have this one page just flat on my work surface, and I'm going to create a little scene here. I was inspired by Gail. She's at Patio Ponderings on Instagram. She did a live on the Bythewell4God channel the other day, and she created this beautiful mountain scene, and so I was inspired by that, and I'm going to kind of do my take on that here. So what you've seen me do is stamp one of these mountains with some VersaFine black ink. And now I'm going to use this kind of silhouette of this tree line here. But I realized I wanted something to the left of that mountain just for some kind of height. So I'm kind of just playing around. So what I decided to do is I'm just going to take one part of this stamp and stamp it on the same plane as that mountain. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm just inking up that very last tree there, and I got some ink on the next tree over, so I'm just wiping that off, and then I'm going to stamp that kind of on that same plane as the mountain. So, and then once I've done that, then I'm going to go ahead and stamp the entire strip of trees. So I am trying to decide where I want to put these. I want the tops of some of those trees to cover up the very base of the mountain so that it looks like there's some space between the tree line and the base of the mountain. So what I'm doing here is just inking up, and you can see I'm avoiding that last tree on there because I want there to be kind of an angle down, just a little bit different in ground, and also so I'm not stamping over that tree that I've already stamped. So I just kind of avoided that area. That's the great thing about stamps like this. And you can see when I pull this up, I don't have a completely dark impression on here, but I can go back in. I will go back in and fix that later. It's kind of hard to see on camera, but there was part of that that's really light. So I'll go back in and fix that with a pen. And so now I want to finish the tree line here. I'm just kind of deciding which trees I want to do, and I want to go up next to the scriptures. I don't want to cover the scriptures, so a really easy way to do that is just to use a sticky note to kind of mask off that area. And then I'm also going to mask off part of the stamp, so I'm just with the same sticky note and just covering up part of it. And then I'm going to apply the ink to part of the stamp and then pull up my sticky note and just apply the ink. That's just a quick way to do some masking on your stamp. So now my little tree line runs all the way across, which is what I wanted to do. And I'm a little bit off the screen here, but I'm going to be using this other tree stamp. I love these stamps. They're going to be really versatile, I think. And anyway, I'm going to ink this up, and I'm going to do this kind of down at the bottom, trying to decide. I end up doing it right at the very bottom of the page here, and then I'm going to add one more little stamp of a tree in a smaller scale that's kind of more in the background. So I have the tree that's, closest to you in the foreground is the biggest tree, and then going backwards. So then I'm just kind of hanging that just off the edge of the page there. So now I'm kind of thinking here what I want to do next. And so I'm pulling out some Neocolors and some distress crayons, and I have my stamp block over there on the side, and I'm just going to use that kind of as a palette. So you could do this on plastic packaging or whatever. I just had this handy. So you can see I'm just scribbling some of the different colors of Neocolors and distress crayons out here and making a watercolor palette for myself. So I just find this to be one of the easiest ways for me to work, so that I can also have a little bit of area to blend colors if I want to or whatever. So I have a water brush, and that's what I will be applying this paint with. I'm using one of the craft mats underneath there, just kind of showing you that even though I used VersaFine ink, it shadowed a little bit, but it didn't actually bleed through on that back side. So I'm going to start with my trees down here at the bottom. I'm doing a really loose watercolor on here, not very specific or anything. And part of the reason for that is that this illustrating Bibles, the paper in it, they just really don't hold water very well. They don't do all that well with watercolor. So I'm having to just kind of be a little bit careful. I don't want the paper to pill. So I'm just kind of dropping in color and using several shades, and I'm not worried about staying in the lines. It's kind of that abstract kind of look that I'm going for, actually. So, and then I'm just going in with those colors. I have the olive neo color, I have bundled sage, I have peeled paint. I just have a bunch of colors. So I'm adding those to the trees, and then I'm also adding it to the area between the trees and the mountain, and then just in front of the trees. I want that color to kind of exist at the tree line there and then kind of fade out into white. That's just a look that I like to do instead of trying to watercolor the entire background. I think it really makes the image kind of pop off the background some. Sometimes I'll cover the whole thing, but for this I'm not going to do that. So I'm using one of my blue neo colors. I can't remember the color. It was a light color, and you can really barely see it on screen, but it's there. Anyway, and I'm just going around this mountain for my sky, and I'm just kind of fading it up again into white. And I have the sticker. This actually came with the printable sets that you can buy that coordinate with the kit, the digital papers. And so I printed that on clear sticker paper. That's going to be the title for my page. So now I am working on this mountain and using weathered wood and I think bundled sage and some purples and just a bunch of colors. And it's kind of hard to say, because I'm also mixing them on my palette. So some of it is just a color just working the color till I get what I'm looking for. And then I have a really light gray, which I've just added to the top of this little snow cap part. And I think I've said this before, I grew up in Colorado, and so the mountain scenes are just something that really speak to me, and the light and stuff plays off the mountains so interesting. And so I'm trying to kind of capture some of that in what I'm painting here, in the way that, like in the flat irons and stuff, how it can look dark on one side of the mountain and look light on the other. And it just depends. The mountains are just beautiful. So anyway, I'm just working all those colors. I added a little bit of purple and into a gray, and now I'm just kind of going in with that. And again, you can see I'm doing a lot of, like, I'll put some color down and then I will just kind of press down with my paper towel. And the reason I'm doing that is because it helps it blend. Again, you can't put a lot of water down on this paper, and so it's just one of those ways to help it kind of blend together. So I need to dry this so that I can add another layer. So I'm just using my heat tool, and I dried that, and then I'm coming back in with some more of that purpley gray color and just kind of adding it around under where the shadow of the snow cap would be, and just different places. And then this green started looking really kind of yellow, and I wanted it to be a darker green. So now I'm going to come back in and add a second layer of color back in here in this area between the tree line and the mountain. And again, I'm just putting some down, and then I'll pull it back a little bit and just trying to get it to all blend in there. I even added a little bit of olive and bundled sage, and just kind of literally not even like painting, just kind of just dropping color down in there and letting it do its thing. And then I'm coming back in with another layer underneath here, and again I'm patting that off, and just also to avoid getting a hard edge. That's one of the things that I've noticed about the illustrating Bible when you're using watercolors. It's really easy to get a hard edge. And so when you're wanting to blend or fade something out, it becomes really difficult. So if you kind of take your paper towel and kind of dab it up, you might have to add more layers, but you can get a softer blend or a better like ombre effect if you're doing it that way. So here I just mixed up some more like a grayish purple color here, and I am just highlighting the verses here in Isaiah. And I have this flashcard that has holy on it and the verse reference. I'm just going to put that down here at the bottom of my page. Kind of, I'm leaving a little bit of room in there because I want to write a quote. And up at the top, you can see I'm kind of scrubbing with my watercolor brush, and that's because I was getting, like I said, that harsh line. So I just kind of was able to blend it out just a little bit. And here I am using some micron pens, and I'm just going over some of those areas in the trees where my stamping wasn't perfect, or I just wanted it to be really dark, especially like at the base of the mountain, so that you couldn't see through, so that it was really a silhouette against the mountains. So I took my little corner rounder and rounded the corners of this flashcard, and I will be putting that toward the bottom of the page. And I grabbed one of the faux washi strips that comes in the kit, and I'm just going to take my scissors, and I apologize that you can't really see what I'm doing here, but I'm just taking my scissors and kind of going like in a zigzag way back and forth along the edge so that it looks like it's torn in the way that, you know, regular washi would tear. And then I am just trimming off the excess there, and that just gives me that look of some washi tape down at the bottom. I really wanted a place to anchor this flashcard. And again, I left that space in there. I'm going to be taking some notes, and I'm going to use this clear sticker up here at the top, and this is the title for day 2 that says "Because He's Holy," and I'm just going to burnish that down. That just helps kind of take off that hazy look that clear sticker paper can have if you burnish it down into the paper. So, and now I'm looking through my tile alphas. You can get these to coordinate with the kit as well, and I'm trying to find my tweezers here, and then I'm going to apply day 2 right here underneath my little mountain using some tweezers. It's just easier for me to do that. And now in this open area here, I'm writing a quote from the devotional, and it's just talking about that we serve God, you know, because He's holy. We fear God because He's holy. So I just included that, and that pretty much wraps up the page in my Bible. But there were still some notes and things that I wanted to include in the devotional. Tom was talking about the 3 of the different kinds of fear that are mentioned in the Bible, and the difference in kind of how they're used. And so I wanted to add those into my little tag ring so that I would have those notes. So I'm cutting out some images. This is from another one of the digital sets. I'm going to cut out another title and then some of the words. I end up not using the words for the Hebrew version for fear, but I did cut them out because I thought I might use them. But anyway, I'm going through my scraps here. This is from when I was cutting out all of the tags. And what I'm going to do is just create like a multi-layered pocket. And you can see here I've picked out 2 pattern papers and then some book text here. And these are going to make my pockets for these tags that are going to have the definitions of these 3 different types of fear, and then also a scripture on the backside. So I'm just kind of measuring everything out here. And one note here, I'm using some book text, and if you're using book text in a project and you don't want it to be like a focal image, you want it to kind of more just read as like a patterned paper. One trick to doing that is to not put your paper right side up. So if you just flip it upside down, or depending on the project, like even like sideways, your mind doesn't register that you should be reading the words on it. So it doesn't even really matter what the text that says. You won't think to read it that way if it's upside down. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's just a little tip if you're using book text. I very often have mine will be upside down or sideways. It's a rare thing for me to have it kind of right side up, and I do that intentionally. But I mean, you can do it however you want to, but that's just one of the ways that I like to do it. So here I have these 3 strips of paper. I had the pattern paper and then my book text, which I distressed that at the top just a little bit to make it stand up from the other background paper. And I'm just creating my little pockets, and it's going to be kind of tiered, and then I'll have this yellow one down at the bottom, and it'll kind of be a little cascade. You can see they're going to tuck in there. I just measured those, and I didn't want to waste an entire section of paper, so I only cut the little strips that I would need. You could totally layer it, all the way up if you wanted to, but anyway, so just gluing obviously on the sides and the bottom, and that gives me my 3 little pockets. And so I have these tags, and I'm going to pull out my tile alphas here in a second. Oh, right now I'm trying to figure out what I want to put behind that title to really make that pop off the page. I have a couple of these faux washies that were in the digital elements as well, and these little labels. I'm loving these little labels for layering pieces, so I'm probably I will end up using that yellow one. But anyway, I also pulled out some of the raffia, and I'm going to use that on the top of my tags. So here I'm pulling out 3 of the tile alphas that I feel like coordinate with the papers that I have on this tag, and I'm going to spell out on each tag the different names of the Hebrew words for the fear. And then you can see here I've written out the definition that Tom gives us in the devotional, and on the back side I have the scriptures that have those usages of those words. And then here I'm just gluing down that label and the title. And then here I'm opening this up, and I'm going to attach these little pieces of raffia to the top, and just using my Tim Holtz tiny attacher at the top, and so that there's just some interest, and it kind of pulls in that goldish kind of color from the wood things from the background. So this is my tag ring. I'm going to go ahead and put my little tag back in there, and that's it. So if you liked this video, I would appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And until next time, bye-bye.